Hey guys, Fancycam here, and today we are doing a directed video for once rather than just some random playthrough. I'm in Fallout 4 right now, and today we are looking at Fallout 4's 6 best settlements. Now, to start with, we're going to look at probably the most obvious settlement in the game. This is a settlement you get first. This is a settlement that is arguably the most pre-war besides maybe Covenant. And it's one of the biggest. This is Sanctuary. Now, you can make a big change to Sanctuary depending on how you go about it. Either you can try and rejuvenate Sanctuary as it is, or you can take it and make it into something completely different. Now here we see what I've done with Sanctuary, which is essentially...
I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah, hello McCready. Try and make it what it was originally. I mean, not exactly. A pre-war, post-war rendition of that. Post-apocalyptic still in style, but sort of rebuilding. That's what I went with generally in this. Now, what I like about Sanctuary is the fact that it gives you that option to choose between either making it more of a rebuild of society or going with that very post-apocalyptic style of building. I mean, like this building here I've completely replaced with just pretty much a metal house, which is where I keep all my storage and so I have a little living room. The best part is it comes with a lot of like vacant lots in Sanctuary. You can put a house on any that you dispose of, because a lot of the houses can be broken down. For example, here was a vacant house that I broke down and turned into sort of a social bar area, which actually, without my doing, all of the settlers at night just go over here and hang out for some reason.
Usually a mentat school myself. Makes me feel.
I also find this is a nice place to send all of your companions, because there's plenty of room. It's a nice big settlement with plenty of places to put beds. You can have a house to every settler. I've used gardens here to make my little farms, and I just feel like for the authenticity of the settlement and the sort of feel that it gives, it's got to be one of my favourites. There's also plenty of room to build whatever you want. There's vacant lots. I've seen a lot of people build tree houses over on this tree. There's room to put plenty of these conductor towers, have lighting hooked up all across the town, which I've done. Every house is lit up. So first on the list is Sanctuary, a very obvious choice, but it's got to be on the list nonetheless. Second on the list is the castle, one of the biggest forts in all of the wasteland. A place where you can have essentially a complete defended position, which is a nice feeling in the Commonwealth because it's so hostile. You're likely to get killed at some point one way or another, so why not have your own big armoured base? I think this is what the castle represents. It's yet again another obvious choice for me to make. However, it's what you can do with the castle that's quite interesting. It gives you this massive open space, and as you can see here, one of the best ways I've seen to repair these walls is to use concrete blocks, and you can essentially build this back up. It already comes with a lot of the amenities that you need. You get power to start off with. You can build... you've straight away got a radio tower to use. You have water coming in and this chems shack here. You have a few beds already. There's power cables linked up all around the castle, which is really helpful to start you off with, because it means that all these areas can be lit up straight away. You get your own office pretty much. You can use this as your sort of place. See, I've put all the flags here. I like to think of this room as sort of a meeting place. But you can do pretty much anything with the castle, but in particular it seems very directed to being sort of a defended position. A fort, as it is a fort. This is probably a nice place to make your main base. You could call this... I mean, between this and Sanctuary, I think they're both suggested to be where you would set up shack and make your home. Obviously you can choose any of the settlements to make home, but I think the castle is an ideal choice.
Crop's been growing pretty good lately.
You levitate, okay. For instance, here I've built sort of a bridge over the top of this concrete filling, but I think when you get the castle, it's all sort of wrecked and left over, and you can tell that it hasn't been used for a while. But you can do so much with it to make it look fresh, rejuvenate it. You know, there's space to build a farm. if you wanted to, you could fill this whole area with houses. You can build really high, so you're next to it, because the tower, I mean, this radio tower is already so high, it seems only appropriate to build tall buildings next to it. And it'd be a perfect place to sort of have tall buildings, but with a defended surrounding, which is pretty difficult to do on most of the settlements, because you'll use up all of your building capacity just on making a wall around your settlement. So that's the castle. This is my second on the list, and I think it's a good choice. An obvious one once again, but a good choice nonetheless. The third settlement that I've chosen is Hangman's Alley. As you can see, it's a small settlement. There's not a huge amount of room to build, but part of the reason I love it is because it's pretty much the only settlement that's built within other buildings. We come through the door here. Close that. You'll see that it's kind of a tight area. It's built between these tall buildings here in the middle of Boston, which in fairness is one of the most violent places in the Commonwealth. You're going to see a lot of hostility around you, but that's kind of what I like about this. It's a defended position right in the middle of all the havoc. You've got these buildings surrounding it, which means that there's only a couple of places that enemies could even enter. The nice part is that even though there's not much room to build, because these buildings are already so tall already that are next to you, you might as well just build up. I mean, personally, I haven't made much of an attempt to build any tall buildings here yet, but I think that's one of the ways that I would definitely recommend you go with a settlement like this. Because you've got such a defended position, it's nice to sort of build just straight up, have plenty of people living here, but in a tight, secluded sort of area, in the middle of a danger zone, essentially. I think that this is a really nice settlement because you go past a lot of raider bases that are very much built similar to this. You'll come across a lot of places that have walls like this, raiders inside, the door's locked, and you have to take everyone out. It's nice to have a place of your own that's just like that. I mean, there was raiders here when I got the settlement anyway. I had to kill the raiders just to get in here. And although it's a tight area, there is a lot of scope for what you can actually do with it, I think. I mean, you could use it as not really a settlement for people at all and just build it as some sort of armory or a storage place. But either way, it's nice and secluded, it's inside of these walls, and it's just a nice little area, I think, that you can do a lot with, even with its size being quite small. Arriving at number 4, we have Starlight Drive-In. This is one of the earliest settlements that you get your hands on, but it is a really unique settlement. It's one of the biggest settlements in how much free land space it has without anything sort of obtruding out of the ground to block your building, which is really good if you want to get sort of a load of houses into one small area rather than having a massively separated settlement. I think it works perfectly for getting a Fallout feel kind of settlement, you know, one that you'd come across anyway without you having built it. What I tried to do with the settlement was build just a number of houses around this big water cooler, because there is, when you first come here, this water is completely irradiated. Fortunately, you get rid of the irradiated barrels, even with the radiation coming from the sky right now. Put in a water purifier, and it makes the water unirradiated. It makes it not irradiated anymore. Okay, it's clean now, which is nice because it means that you can walk around here without getting radiation, which you don't really want when you're in a settlement. You want the settlement to be, you know, somewhere a bit more relaxed. I built a little bar here. Built loads of houses. Built one of my favourite bits that I've built. Is just a big junk wall all the way around the settlement, because I feel like it's one of those places that in any of the previous games you would have come across and it would have been set up as a settlement, you know, because it's got such a wide open space. It's somewhere where you would expect people to set up shop, sort of like, as long as you got a wall surrounding the outside of it, you can have anything in the middle. There's plenty of space here to build houses. Even without foundations, the ground is pretty flat, which is really good to work with, because most of the settlements you come across are on pretty hilly areas or areas with lots of trees and rocks, and it just feels like they're not designed to have too many houses on them. It's more like the odd house here and there, but this settlement is one of the only ones that I've come across where there is a huge amount of space for you to build pretty much anything you want. I mean, you got this big screen here, And in one of the preview trailers to Fallout 4, I know they built the pit boy here, adding with the lights. I started building some lights, obviously they're just a stick, but I think that this is an area you can definitely work with for just having something here. It might be just a get out written in lights or something like that, but it's somewhere you could put a picture or actually use these lights to your advantage, because it's such a big backdrop to work with, which makes these pop a lot more. So it's a very unique settlement, I think. I think it's something that relates well to the lore of Fallout and fits into the game really well. Our penultimate settlement that I've chosen for the list is Warwick Homestead. This is one of the last places I discovered, but it is one of my favourite. It might not be a place that's for everyone, but what I will argue, no matter who you are, it does have a lot of space. Just looking round it, you can see that there's plenty of room to build as many houses as you want. Now, when I removed all the gates, as you can see, there was plenty of gates around here, not gates, fences even, that I got rid of. It freed up a lot more space. And although I've only got one house down at the moment, it is somewhere that I can feel free to build a lot more. After 100 hours in game, I'm still finding myself wanting to build more and more on settlements. I mean, I've spent about 20 hours just on that in this game.
Yes?
I love the settlement creator. I feel like this homestead is somewhere where you can place a lot of buildings, build something that you want, but it's also one of my favourite parts about this settlement is that you have a nice mixture of room to build new buildings in any way you like, but also these buildings that are already here, these preloaded buildings that aren't sort of all shacks. They're, you know, it's a proper concrete structure. It has all the beds in here, so you can already get plenty of settlers in. There's some, you know, settlers already here that are ready to work, and you can command them to do whatever you like. But I like that mix of having these big buildings, this big area here, because it looks a lot nicer than just a bare landscape to work with. It's got a nice mix of free space. I mean, just here I built the water purifier into these sewage tanks, which I think is a really easy way to do it. I mean, you are connected to the sea in part, so you could also build them in the sea, but I think that that's the best use of the water tanks. I'm sure other people will come up with something more impressive, maybe make them into like little swimming pools or something in one way or another. Oh, and it's a very big farm, which apparently is built on the most fertile ground in all of the wasteland. Finally, we arrive at the top of my list, number 6. It's not necessarily my favourite, but for all the advantages it gives, it certainly deserves one of the top places. Spectacle Island. The biggest settlement in all of Fallout 4. That's essentially what is perfect about this settlement. When you're walking around it, you get to see just how huge it really is. There's so much space to build pretty much anything you want. I'll admit one problem with the settlement is that it is very hilly. It's sort of not shaping ideally to build upon. But then again, you can completely just build foundations first, or as I've built platforms here, which are really nice to put houses on top of. I mean, at the moment I haven't put too much effort into this, but it's somewhere that I'll be spending a lot of time on, because you can just imagine, even just looking at it, how much scope it has for what you can build in the future. I mean, I've built a couple of houses here. There's so I mean, you can build big houses like this
here to spy on me
without any trouble, really. This is here when you get here, and if you've seen anything about Spectacle Island, I won't spoil it for you, but the way that you get it is pretty cool. Like, it's got a nice little mission with it. Also, I've built these conductor towers all the way around, which means that you can power the whole island. Admittedly, it takes a lot of resources to build on an island this big, but the island also gives a lot of resources, anything like steel and metal. There's so many trees. Oh, this is one of the best places for getting resources. When you first come to these cargo containers, they're all, like, half of them are full of stuff that you can break down instantly and get resources from. So even if you didn't want to use this settlement, no idea why you wouldn't. It is pretty much the best place to just go and pick up as many resources as you can by breaking it all down. Now, actually, one of the interesting things I thought I'd do with this place was turn all these empty cargo containers that used to have stuff in into little houses. I mean, the problem is that it's sort of, the whole structure is leaning a bit, so some of the furniture is a bit floaty, levitating off the ground. But I still feel the idea of it is a very Fallout centered kind of settlement, in that this is the sort of thing you often see in the wasteland. If there's any big structure where people can build homes into, they do tend to do it. So I feel like this is another place like Starlight Drive-In that you'd come across in the wasteland anyway, and it would have, you know, a sort of a settlement built into it. And that's saying that this settlement as a whole, it's massive, and yet this area could be a settlement by itself. Like, this is about as big as Hangman's Alley is, really, and you can do a lot with that. But clearly this settlement was placed here so you could have the most freedom in what you can build, because even after everything I've already built, if you look at the size up there of how much more I can build, that bar barely goes up. You can put so much down and it will barely move for this settlement. So you'll have freedom to build a huge amount of buildings. I mean, you could make a gigantic fort just in the middle and still have room on the outside to build more things. So this for me is the ultimate settlement for freedom of building. It might not have as much character to it as some of the other settlements do. For instance, Sanctuary and Hangman's Alley are some of my favourite settlements for just the character to them and sort of what you get out of them without even building anything. But I feel like this is the ideal place to have completely, I mean, it's not even a settlement, you could have a little society basically, because you've got an island all to yourself. And I only discovered this recently. I'm over 100 hours into the game now and I've only just found out about this settlement, so you can imagine how happy I was to discover it based on the fact that I'd already built something in every other settlement, and this was just like this was best to last, essentially. In my opinion, you can do so much with this. So guys, that is my top 6 Fallout 4 settlements list. I hope you all agree with me. I'm sure there's some fan favourites you have, but I do think a lot of the settlements in this are essentially just farms. But yeah, this has been my list. Please comment if you have any other ideas, some that you might really like. There's over 30 settlements in Fallout 4, and this is just 6 of them. So tell me if you like any of the other settlements better, if you agree with my list, and maybe even post pictures of some of the things you've done with these settlements, because I've barely even touched Spectacle Island. I haven't done that much with Starlight Drive-In or Hangman's Alley, Warwick Homestead, but I'm sure some of you out there have...
Nothing's more satisfying than a smoking
Do you
gun
mind, Kate?
and a pocket
I'm
full of
saying
cash.
goodbye. Anyway, I'm sure you guys out there have done absolutely loads with these settlements, so feel free to post some links to pictures of what you've done with the settlements. Please share that around. This has been Fancycam. I have been showing you the 6 best settlements in Fallout 4. I hope you enjoyed it. See you later.